Okay, hi everyone. This is Mrs. Wolders, and what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to review a little bit about our division and multiplication that we've been doing over the last couple weeks. When I've looked at your Mathletics, it looks like everything is going well, and it looks like people are understanding what's going on with the beginning stages of multiplication and division. But I wanted to take a little bit of time to be able to just go a little bit more into depth, okay? So when we talk about multiplication, we can also talk about division, okay? Now when we were in class, there were a few things that we talked about. We talked about arrays, and when we talked about arrays were when we drew the little pictures, right? So I'm going to give you an example here that we have 8 dots. And when we talk about multiplication, we can say there's 4 in 2 rows, and that would equal 8, okay? But we can also use arrays to do division as well, okay? So we have 4 dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, in 2 different groups, okay? But we can also divide. So let's do some division. 8 divided by 2 equals 4. And then we also have 8 divided by 4 equals 2. Okay, and if I want to go another step up here, I can say 2 times 4 equals 8. Okay, these would be considered a fact family, okay, because we can see that there are many different similarities, okay? We have the 2, we have the 4, and then we have the 8. And you can see how when we've changed them up that we're able to use them to be able to work with multiplication and division. Okay, so we've talked about arrays. Now, we did do some Mathletics on arrays, and so we should have a good understanding of what arrays are, what they look like, and now we've just talked about the fact family. Okay, now, when we also talk about multiplication and division, there's some terminology that's important to know, okay? So let's continue to use these terminology, and let's do 2 times 4 equals 8. Okay, so we have a few things here. We have the number of groups that they go into. We have the number in each group, okay? We have the number in all, okay? When we are working with division, we are also talking about the dividend, okay? So this is the dividend, okay? And then we have the divisor, okay, the divisor. And then we have the quotient, okay? And the quotient's right here. Okay, when we talk about the multiplication, okay, we have here a factor. We have another factor. And then we also have the product. Okay, so understanding multiplication and division, they go and work hand in hand, okay? So right now we've talked about an example of what an array is. We've looked at the fact families. We've also here looked at what a multiplication sentence is, what a division sentence is. We've talked a little bit about what a factor is, what product is, what that looks like in the sentence, multiplication sentence, as well as when we move on to the division sentence, okay? The dividend, the divisor, and the quotient, okay? So we have different components of multiplication and division that come together to be able to understand what it means to work with multiples as well as with how we divide numbers, okay? Okay, next I am going to use a different board, okay? And So let's continue to talk about this. So we now have the understanding of what an array is. We have an understanding of what a fact family is. We've talked a little bit about what a multiplication sentence is and what a division sentence is, okay? Now, when we are talking about multiplication, we can also talk about the multiplication table, okay? Now, I'm not going to do the entire multiplication table here, but I am going to draw one out just for a couple of numbers, okay? So we're going to start off by putting 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, actually, we'll leave that one closed here. And then we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So we have 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 4 is 4. Okay. When we move through the multiplication table, we can see that we're working with duplicates, triplicates, quadruplicates, and then we have, of course, the multiplying by 5. Sometimes the language gets a little bit confusing. So when we are doing the multiplication table, you can see here how I have started to look at what each number is, and then I put the actual number in the box, okay? And I'm going to do this one here. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. Now, I can also do it the opposite way, okay? Which means that we can look at this as a division piece too, right? So when we're talking about 12 divided by 3 is 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3, okay? Let's look at this one here. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 divided by 6 is 2, okay? So let's keep going here. 1 times 4 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16, but they can go the other way around as well, okay? 16 divided by 4 is 4. Let's hop down here. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And so we can see here by using a multiplication table that this is a strategy that we can work off of when we are struggling with multiplication and division, okay? So just as, so this is the multiplication table. Now, another thing that we can do too, which was talked about in mathletics, is we have the number line. Now, I think in mathletics, they actually talk about it as the frog jump, okay, the number line, okay? So for those boys and girls that are still struggling with understanding how to do multiplication, this is another strategy you can work off of, okay? So I'm going to just do a simple number line here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'll put a 9 here and a 10 here. Oh, and I want to put a 0 here. So I'm going to use a different color for this. So when we're working with a number line, or as they would say with mathletics, a frog jump, sorry, we can count by 2s. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, and you can see here as I've done my jumps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so 2 times 5, whoops, make sure I did this right, equals 10. Awesome. Okay, now I can also do it where I have done it in a division form. Okay, so I could go 10 divided by 5 equals 2. 10 divided by 2 equals 5. And if I want to go another step, I can do 5 times 2 equals 10. Okay? And once again, we talk about the fact families. Okay? So over the last couple weeks, we've talked about a number of different things. We've talked about the multiplication table. Oh, and look at here. I spelled multiplication table wrong. Haha. Multiplication table, okay. We've talked about the number line. We've talked about the fact families. I'm going to move this over here and do the other one. Okay. And then we've also talked about arrays. When we've talked about division and multiplication, we've talked about the different types of sentences that you can use in them. Okay. Now, most of this stuff too, we've done in class. We've talked about this stuff in class. So this video is more for people to be able to review the fundamentals of it. Now, for grade 4, memorization is not necessary at this level, okay? So those parents who are listening right now, memorization is not necessary. The understandings of 2s and 5s and 10s would be a great benefit, but as we move on to grade 5, they will be learning more concepts on multiplication and division. Okay, well, I hope everyone enjoyed this little tutorial on multiplication and division, a little bit of a review of what we learned in Mathletics. If you need to come back here, feel free to do that. And I hope that you have an awesome weekend. Okay, bye.